Welcome to the C.S. Lewis Mastery Channel. We live in a world where everyone seems eager to speak, justify, and defend their opinions. Every second, millions of voices compete for attention, trying to prove their worth, their truth, their perspective. But what if I told you that true power lies not in arguing, but in remaining silent? Yes, silence is an underrated force, a spiritual shield, a strategic weapon that few know how to use. Not everyone deserves to hear what we have to say, and sharing too much can become a risk to our peace and purpose. C.S. Lewis teaches us that sometimes the most powerful thing we can say is nothing. In a world where words are distorted, where people carry hidden agendas, and where spiritual forces operate silently behind the scenes, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent can be the difference between preserving our strength or wasting it on battles that do not belong to us. In this video, you will understand why silence is the greatest weapon of the chosen. We will reveal how it preserves your energy, protects your mission, and thwarts the plans of those who try to bring you down. If you have ever felt like you are always explaining, justifying, and fighting to be understood, then this message is for you. So leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell, because what you will discover today can completely change the way you deal with challenges, attacks, and spiritual battles. Are you ready to unlock this powerful secret? Then let's get started. We live in a world where words are both weapons and shields. Society teaches us that we must justify ourselves, explain every step, and respond to every provocation. But is this really the best strategy? When we look at divine wisdom, we realize that silence is often not a sign of weakness, but a powerful tool of protection. The Bible teaches us that our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces that operate behind the scenes in the unseen. This knowledge completely changes the way we should react to the attacks we face. When you engage in an argument with someone influenced by negative spiritual forces, you are not just dealing with a person, you are dealing with the energy that operates through them. Jesus understood this dynamic, and so, at crucial moments, he chose silence. Before Pilate, when he was unjustly accused, he did not defend himself. He knew that no explanation would change the minds of those who were already determined to condemn him. This choice was not a sign of weakness, but of absolute trust in the divine plan. Now think, how many times have you tried to explain yourself to someone who had already decided not to understand? How many times have your words been distorted and used against you? The enemy does not need to know everything about you. The more you reveal, the more ammunition you give to those who seek to weaken you. Silence, in these cases, is an impenetrable shield. When we try to respond to every accusation, justify every action, or convince those who have already decided not to listen, we waste precious energy in battles we were not called to fight. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Never make your experience a universal principle. Let God be as original with others as He was with you." Not everyone is ready to receive the truth you carry. Some people do not want to understand. They want to debate, destabilize, and drain your energy. It is up to you to discern when to speak and when to keep quiet. Silence preserves your spiritual energy. It prevents you from being drawn into useless battles, wearing yourself out emotionally and spiritually with those who do not want to learn, but only to argue. Furthermore, it strengthens your connection with God, because it is in moments of stillness that we can hear His voice clearly. Now, reflect on your own life. How many times have you spent time trying to convince someone of your truth, only to be misunderstood? How much energy have you wasted in arguments that never led to real understanding? Silence is not giving up. It is wisdom. It is understanding that some truths do not need to be spoken because they can only be understood with time. In addition, silence protects us from revealing information that can be used against us. Satan is not omniscient like God, but he watches, listens, and records everything we say. The more we reveal our weaknesses, dreams, and intentions to the wrong people, the more material we provide for the enemy to work against us. Just as Jesus silenced the demons when they tried to speak before him, we need to learn to keep quiet in certain situations. The wisdom of silence also protects our inner peace. Many of the battles we face are not external, but internal. Words can be sharp weapons that leave invisible scars, and the more we react impulsively, the more we become entangled in conflicts that drain our spiritual energy. By choosing silence, we preserve our mind and heart for what really matters. But silence does not mean passivity. On the contrary, it should be a conscious and strategic act. The question we should ask ourselves is, am I keeping quiet out of fear or out of discernment? True spiritual silence does not come from omission, but from the wisdom of knowing when to speak and when to withdraw. If this message has already touched your heart, then I invite you to be part of this journey. Like now and subscribe to the channel so that this knowledge reaches more people. Your support is essential for us to continue bringing transformative reflections. And tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced situations in which you realized the power of silence? Let's share experiences and grow together. Now, let's understand how we can apply this wisdom in our daily lives. Silence is not only a defense, but also a strategic tool. When we learn to use it correctly, we become wiser, avoid unnecessary wear and tear, and strengthen our connection with God. The first thing we need to understand is that silence does not mean passivity. Many people think that by remaining silent in the face of provocation or injustice, they are being weak or complicit. However, true silence is a conscious choice, an act of self-control. When Jesus was questioned by Pilate, he remained silent. He knew that he did not need to justify himself, because his mission went beyond human judgment. This attitude did not demonstrate weakness, but rather absolute power over his words and emotions. In the same way, when we find ourselves in situations where we are provoked, attacked, or misunderstood, we need to ask ourselves, is it worth responding? Will this explanation change anything, or will it just fuel the conflict? Many times, the enemy just wants to distract us, to make us waste time and energy debating with those who will never understand us. The best response in these moments is silence, because it disarms those who attack us and preserves our peace. Furthermore, silence gives us time to observe and better discern situations. When we talk too much, we can miss important information, react impulsively, and end up damaging our own position. Proverbs 17 verse 28 teaches us that even a fool, when he keeps silent, is considered wise. This means that by maintaining control over our words, we project an image of serenity and intelligence. Often, those who speak less have more power, because their voice, when used, is valued. Another crucial aspect of silence is that it protects us spiritually. As we have already discussed, not all people around us are well-intentioned. Some are influenced by spiritual forces that want to destabilize us, lead us astray, or even make us doubt our own faith. When we share too much about our dreams, plans, and feelings, we give these forces ammunition to work against us. Jesus warned us about this when he said, "Do not cast your pearls before swine," in Matthew 7 verse 6. Our pearls are everything that is sacred to us, our faith, our plans, our inner peace. Not everyone deserves access to these areas of our lives. Therefore, by practicing strategic silence, we are not only preserving ourselves emotionally, but also protecting our spiritual journey. We are learning to act wisely, to discern when to speak and when to remain silent, and to trust that God fights for us. In many situations, silence is the most powerful response we can offer. Society conditions us to believe that we must always react, respond, and explain ourselves. However, those who master the art of silence understand that, often, remaining silent is the greatest act of intelligence and self-control. Jesus gave us this example countless times. When he was before Pilate, hearing false accusations, he did not try to justify himself. In Matthew 27 verse 14, we read that Jesus answered him nothing, so that the governor was greatly amazed. His silence was not weakness, but rather trust in God's plan. He knew that he did not need to defend himself before those who did not have the spiritual capacity to understand his mission. How often do we waste our energy trying to justify our actions to people who have already decided not to understand us? Some dialogues are not opportunities, but traps. The enemy uses arguments, provocations, and questions to make us lose our bearings. He wants us to spend our energy proving who we are, trying to change perceptions that are already rooted in the hearts of those who do not have eyes to see. C.S. Lewis warns us, the devil always sends distractions when he sees that we are close to something significant. Many of these distractions come in the form of pointless arguments, exhausting debates, and draining relationships. When we react impulsively, we end up wasting energy that should be directed toward our growth and our communion with God. Silence protects us, but it also exposes those who wish to harm us. Notice how often, by not responding, we give space for people's true intentions to come to light. Silence can be a mirror. It reveals the true face of those around us. When we do not give the answer they expect, those who are guided by deception become frustrated and show their true nature. Therefore, learning to withdraw from unnecessary battles is a gift that few master. The wise man does not wear himself out trying to change what is already corrupt. He knows that the truth stands on its own and that his peace is worth more than any argument. In the face of injustice, provocations, and unfounded accusations, the best thing we can do is often follow Christ's example. Keep quiet, trust in God, and move forward. Silence is not just a defensive strategy, but a powerful tool for inner transformation. It not only preserves your energy, but leads you to a state of greater connection with God, with yourself, and with the truth that transcends words. When we learn to keep quiet in situations that require discernment, we give space for the Holy Spirit to work on our behalf. As it is written in Exodus 14 verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you, only be still." This is the true meaning of the strength contained in silence, total confidence that God is in control. We often want immediate answers. We seek clarification, we want to prove our worth and justify our actions. But when we resist the urge to respond to every provocation, we find something surprising: peace. Silence teaches us that not all battles are to be fought in the realm of words. Some battles require only a firm stance and total surrender to God. When we stop trying to convince those who are unwilling to understand, we preserve our energy for what really matters. Furthermore, silence gives us access to a deeper level of wisdom. It makes room for intuition, discernment, and the voice of God. In a world full of noise and distractions, those who can silence their minds become more receptive to divine answers. How many times do we get lost in fruitless discussions, unnecessary justifications, and futile attempts to explain what can only be understood by the Spirit? In the end, we realize that the greatest answers come when we learn to listen instead of speaking. The central question here is, are you spending your energy on what really matters? Or are you wasting your strength trying to convince those who have already decided not to understand? The wisdom of silence teaches us that often, less is more. Fewer words, more authority. Fewer explanations, more clarity. Fewer attempts to prove something, more trust in one's own essence. When we choose strategic silence, we are not omitting ourselves, but rather strengthening ourselves. We are aligning ourselves with a greater plan, trusting that God will act at the right time. The truly chosen one does not need external validation. He knows that his strength does not lie in speeches, but in his connection with God. He understands that silence is not an end, but a means to access something much greater, a peace that the world cannot steal. We have reached the end of this profound journey on the power of silence, but the learning does not end here. If there is one thing we should carry with us from today on, it is that not every battle deserves our response, not every provocation deserves our attention, and not every truth should be shared with those who are not prepared to receive it. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is not submission, it is self-control. And above all, silence is a shield that protects your peace, your faith, and the mission God has entrusted to you. Jesus, in his infinite wisdom, taught us that often the most powerful response is not to respond. And this lesson resonates to this day. When we remain silent in the face of that which does not edify, we allow God to be our defender. For as it is written in Exodus 14 verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you, and you shall keep silent." Now, I ask you, how many unnecessary battles could you have avoided if you had remained silent? How many times have we spent our energy trying to explain the inexplicable, justify the unjustifiable, expecting understanding from those who would never truly see us? But today, you know that silence is a weapon of wisdom and discernment, and that when we guard our words, we protect our strength. So, from now on, choose your words carefully and, even more so, choose your silences carefully. Don't wear yourself out trying to be understood by those who are not prepared to understand. Trust that God sees what is hidden, and He knows how to act at the right time. Keep your peace, protect your journey, and remember, silence is often the most powerful voice we can have. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like it, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to continue receiving content that strengthens your faith and your purpose. And tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced the power of silence in your life? Let's learn and grow together on this journey. May God bless you, and see you in the next video.